Hi, this is Trey Pastor. I'm gonna have a spoilers review here of Scream 7. I really didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars, which I think I was being generous, which is in my star system. I give it it's fair. I know it made a lot of money and stuff, but to me, the motivation for Ghostface, or in this case, Ghost Faces, as usual, there's multiple Ghost Faces. It was extremely lame, and just the reveal is lame too. I thought it was lame. Uh, anyway, they brought back, Sidney Prescott and Nev Campbell because they fired Melissa Barrera for her comments about Gaza, and Jenna Ortega said it was a scheduling conflict, which I don't believe for a minute. I believe she left once they fired Melissa Barrera. She said, "Screw you, screw you. I got a scheduling conflict. I'm not gonna come back either." Okay, and I think she did the right thing. Okay, because this movie is extremely average and lame. Okay, again, the Ghostface reveal and motivation is extremely weak. Like I said, you have the sort of characters they introduced into the movie. The daughter who's named Tatum after the first act, who was Sydney's best friend in the first movie, got killed by the garage opener. She got she has a boyfriend. You got her. You got assorted other characters. The suspicious neighbor who loves true crime stories. You have her two best friends. Okay, again, like I said, various characters, and all of them basically exist. They're weak characters, and all they basically do is exist just to be suspects. Okay, in this franchise, so you don't know who Ghostface is. Okay, they even brought the twins back from the previous movie. Okay, and they seem to be working with Gail now. Okay, as her interns, and it's again just extremely. The story is weak. Okay, now the Ghostface reveal. Okay, now first there's three Ghostfaces. Okay, so for those at home keeping score, there's three ghost faces. Okay. Okay. There's the opening kill, which has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Okay, and that was kind of the best kill scenario with Ghostface, but extreme has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. That Ghostface kills the two people that rent the B&B house and then burns the house down, and that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Okay, nothing at all. Okay, it's basically somebody's threatening Sydney. Okay, they using AI features of so it makes it look like Stu's alive and he's threatening Sid and stuff. So the family's on high alert and everything, and the mother and the daughter are estranged because Sydney's not, she doesn't want to tell her daughter about what she had to go through. She just wants to protect her and stuff. So they're at arm's length. Okay, now motivation. Okay, now I forgot to introduce. There is like I said, the suspicious neighbor that lives across that's into true crime. He has a mom. Apparently this mom was a single mom who had left an abusive relationship, and she was good friends with Sid. But apparently, we get the reveal. Okay, for the first Ghostface. Okay, after the attack, there was an attack after the phone call in the theater where they're rehearsing the play. That this Ghostface kills the stage, I guess, director, that stage director, I guess, the prop man who's floating one of the young girls of Sydney's daughter's friends who's swinging on the thing. He basically kills him and manipulates the thing to go back and forth, and winds up, slicing and dicing the young girl while she's hung up on the thing. And then we get the reveal when they actually, the cops come later and after the fact, and Ghostface escapes. And then later, when they're leaving the house, Ghostface comes from the attic, okay, and starts attacking them, fighting with the father, stabbing him, fighting with Sid and the daughter, and they run out of the house, and Ghostface gives chase, and then bam, he gets run over by Gail, returning Gail in a news van with the twins, okay, and then we see the reveal of him. He's supposed to be some random guy that nobody knows who he is, and later we found out that he's an escaped mental patient, and Sydney and Gail go to investigate try to find out why, what's his motivation to try to kill her and her family, and they really get some information, some kind of red herrings from one of the orderlies that works there. Okay, and I have to admit, when I saw this guy, I said, yeah, he's probably one of the ghost faces, and it turns out later he is one of the ghost faces. But the motivation now, and the ghost face reveals. Okay, there's a climactic scene towards the end where the ghost faces they kidnap after some mayhem. them killing a bunch of the young kids in the bar and stuff, even attacking the twins. And of course, the twins don't die, which is again another lame thing. This is like the third movie where Chad gets attacked. Okay, I think the second movie went. Actually, I think they all. I think they both got attacked in all three movies. The twins, right? Because I think I think all three of them got attacked in all three movies. Okay, and again, but no fatal injuries. Okay, but they get attacked. The other kids, okay, not so lucky. Okay, there's even a real gruesome kill where the creepy neighbor that lives next door, who's into true crime, he gets attacked by Ghostface and gets actually picked up when he's crawling, trying to get away after he's been stabbed. Gets picked up and put on a bear, literally a bear thing. Gets put on top of it. I don't know how the guy does it. He picks him up and literally puts him on there, and you see the bear thing spitting out of his mouth, and it's spitting out beer and blood. Just again, really weird. But then reveal. Okay. Meanwhile, Sid tries to give an interview with Gale to draw out the ghost face or the fake Stu, wherever it's supposed to be. Okay, and she gets a call later saying that your daughter's out in the bar with her friends who they sneak out later. Okay, and says, I'm going to kill your daughter. Okay, and so Sydney runs out. Okay, without any keys. So instead of running back into the studio and grabbing her keys, she says, you know what? I'm going to run across town to try to save my daughter instead of going back and grabbing her keys or grabbing anybody in the studio and saying, drive me over here real quick so I can save my daughter. She doesn't do that, okay? Because if you did that, you wouldn't have the scene of her directing her daughter, to fight back against Ghostface. Okay, you wouldn't have that scene if she actually ran back to the studio and grabbed her keys or maybe got Gale to drive her over there. Okay, you wouldn't have that scene. So again, just a lame way to keep them separated and have her mom try to talk her through the daughter with Ghostface is trying to attack her, and then eventually she finally does catch up to her daughter. But we see there's two Ghostfaces that's holding her daughter and basically tells her, listen, you come to this. Basically tells her, come back to where the heart is. Your home is where the heart is. And Sydney shows up there. He tells her to come by herself, and she comes. And then we have the reveal of Ghostface. Ghostface 1. He pulls his mask off. It's the attendant at the mental hospital who was basically trying to tell them that he's trying to let them know. When you hear the explanation about some John Doe that came to the mental hospital and stuff and was friends with the psycho who got ran over by Gale, the first Ghostface. He was trying to tell them that story. He's the one Ghostface. Okay, so then you go say, okay, but still, he has no motive. And then there's the reveal of the second Ghostface, and it's the neighbors, the creepy neighborhood boy who was into true crime. It's his mom, who was supposed to be Sydney's friend. And again, she goes into this whole spiel about how she was in an abusive relationship, and she wound up getting the strain from Sydney's book that she wrote about being a survivor, and she killed her husband, and she got away with it, and then she was all depressed because Sydney went away, kind of went into hiding, okay, and she said she even checked herself into a mental hospital, that mental hospital where the attendant was, and they became friends. Now, no explanation of why, this crazy lady who apparently killed her husband and got away with it, okay, convinced this attendant to, join me in a murder spree, okay, so we can draw Sydney back out. To me, it made no sense, okay, that was just extremely lame, okay, they tried to make her look like she was bat-esque crazy, okay, the neighbor who was, up until that point, was just extremely normal, never gave any hints of being crazy or anything like that. We have very few scenes of her, and just scenes of her just acting normal. So I guess it's supposed to be a shock or something that she, and then we find out, when they're giving a spiel about their motivations, and the attendant says that he took a course in AI. Just extremely lame. Okay, oh my God, the motivations was crap. Okay, and again, why? I don't understand why. I'm trying to figure out why, because Sydney's in that town. She lives in that town, right next door to Sydney. Okay, her motivate. It made no sense to me. Okay, so you're living next door, right next door to Sidney Prescott. Okay, they're friends. Okay, but somehow she wants to kill Sid. Okay, because Sid is not acting the way she used to be, not like the strong woman she used to be. Okay, it didn't make no sense. Okay, and again, how this crazy lady managed to convince this attendant. Okay, okay, come on a murder spree with me in this small town. Okay, I want you to kill my son. That's another thing that never made sense to me because they were trying to kind of hint that the son who's into true crime, that you got to play Sam and Gen V, that maybe he did it. But you see actually him get attacked by Ghostface, and you see him get killed by Ghostface, and then after you see that reveal, and the mom, this is what the mom says. When I think Sidney says it, that even though I don't think she was there when she wasn't there when the son got killed. Okay, she said, "What about your son?" And she goes, "He was too much like his father." I said, "What?" And he watches movie, and this guy, sure, the guy's into true crime, and he talks a little bit about it and all that stuff. But and I guess the guy that plays Sam Gen V, who's this the next door neighbor, creepy next because he's into true crime, he wants to start a podcast about these Scream movies and stab movies. He doesn't come off as psycho at in any event. Okay, and then the mom, the reveal of her, and then her just not even caring about her son being killed. Okay, this guy that she teamed up with literally killed her son, and she doesn't care. Okay, even though early in the movie they kept pointing to her trying to grab her son away from Sid. Anytime he tried to ask Sid questions and stuff, she kept grabbing him away and said, "No, leave her alone, and I'm going to keep you home and all." But no, she basically, you get one line from her saying that her son was too much like his father, who was supposedly an abusive a-hole who she murdered and got away with. But again, just very weak motivations, weak reveals. Because like I said, I knew that first time when I saw that actor. I think his name is Ethan Embry. I think that's the actor. He's been in a lot of things over the years. And as soon as I saw him, I thought, okay, this guy could possibly be Ghostface. Because why would you give this random character that basically just gave out information and stuff? And you can see he was kind of trying to steer them towards maybe Stu being alive with the reveals that he gave. Extremely lame, okay, extremely lame, and I think he got killed automatically when they were going on their spiel. When the killers revealed their motivations and stuff. And I think the husband Mark, who must have an endless blood supply. Because he got stabbed early in the day before the meetup in the bar with the people in the interview with Gail and Sid. He got stabbed in the house. Part of the house was getting reconstructed. He got stabbed and put in plastic. Okay, and supposedly you thought he may be dead, but he was alive and holding on enough until when they had the daughter tied to a chair and knives on her and stuff, and Sid facing off. And the husband laying at their feet. But he was still, they said, barely alive, but still, even though he got stabbed about 6 or 7 hours earlier, okay, and nobody came looking for him. He's the chief of police of that town, okay, he's been missing for this long, and nobody goes to try to find him. Nobody comes to the house, okay, made 0 sense, okay. Like I said, it's just extremely lame. The twins, like I said, when they're trying to figure out, they were there basically there for comic relief. Okay, and to get stabbed again, of course, and not die, they get non-fatal wounds and stuff. They get stabbed and fall down immediately, and Ghostface leaves them alone, okay, because they don't move apparently. They get stabbed and they fall down, but yet they still survive to the end. Like, get out, just come on. And like I said, extremely weak motivations. And I do wonder what the script might have been if the Carpenter sisters were in it. Okay, I do wonder what it might have been like. It had to be better than this. Okay. This movie was extremely lame, okay, and I hope for sure somebody else comes along. Kevin Williamson, who wrote the first movie, and I think he wrote a lot of it, and I think, what's his name? I can't remember Wes Craven. I think Wes Craven had to help him with it, with a lot of the plot and stuff, because this motivation was weak. I think Kevin Williamson directed this one also as well. I think. Hold on, let me make sure of that. I think that Kevin Williamson directed. Let's see some Scream. I know he wrote it. Scream. Scream 7 directed. Yeah, Kevin Williamson. He did direct it. Yeah. He needs to just stick to writing because I'm sorry. Horrible director. Horrible, and this script was horrible. I know he did that movie years ago. Who's killing Mrs. Tingle or something like that? The one with Katie, I think Katie Holmes and stuff. I think James Marsden might have been in that one. But anyway, it's hard. No, I think the guy from I think so. I forgot who else was in it. But anyway, horrible movie. I'm sorry. Again, the opening scene was okay. Sequence. I think that was the only good bit. But the motivation's extremely weak and lame. Lame ghost faces. And again, the first ghost face who was this random guy that was in a mental hospital who killed a bunch of women. I don't know how they convinced him to go to the house as Ghostface and attack the sheriff and stuff and a bunch of people. But apparently, this attendant that worked in that mental hospital, he has a lot of influence. He can get a crazy guy to go dress up like Ghostface and go try to attempt to murder people. Okay, but again, he got killed, and I wonder what the plot might have been if he wasn't killed. If he got away, may have been 3 ghost faces. Again, extremely lame, makes 0 sense. And again, this crazy lady that lives next door who killed her husband, and her motivation was to draw Sid back out, to get the real Sid back out. Okay, again, extremely lame. Okay, and she was able to convince this orderly to help her start murdering people. Okay, and dress up like Ghostface. 0 sense at all. Okay, this movie sucked in terms of that. The Ghostface reveals and the motivation, extremely lame. Okay, anyway, let me know what you think of this Ghostface of Scream 7. What do you think of it? What do you think of the reveals? I think it was extremely weak. Motivation is extremely weak, and I think the story was weak. And the characters were, again, just there to be red herrings, so you didn't know who was Ghostface at all at first. And this extremely lame. Again, this extremely lame. And again, the opening sequence had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Okay, nothing at all. Okay, so anyway, let me know what you think. Feel free to leave comments down below. In the description box are links to my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram. Also a link to my other channel, Paul Reviews and Opinions, so you check that out as well. Also have a link down below to my merchandise store. I have 2 designs. I have the spherical circles design. I have that design. And I also have the Trade Passer logo design. I have those 2 designs on my merchandise. I have it on t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, hoodies, water bottles, teddy bears for men, women, unisex. Follow the link. It'll take you to my merchandise store. Also, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps the channel, and I truly appreciate it. Also, hit the subscribe and hit the notification. Yeah, I said that already. And this is Trade Passer saying so long. Take care.